Former US President Donald Trump has Los Angeles, New York, and Washington, D.C. authorities on high alert, with amplified law enforcement presence ahead of his potential arrest, likely to stir up mass riots due to his rumored involvement with adult film star Stormy Daniels and a supposed hush money inquiry. Despite being tangled in various legal discourses in his time, an indictment would pave a new road for Donald, as he would inevitably become the first ever former US president in history to face criminal charges. Do you believe Donald Trump will be locked up for his allegedly illegal ties to Stormy Daniels? Share your responses below and let's jump right in. In our 10th spot, Stormy's Twitter takedown. Stormy Daniels, whose real name is Stephanie Clifford, took to Twitter this past Sunday to take down Trump in a series of shady tweets. The former adult film actress once again remains at the core of the hush money payment dispute from years prior, as Donald currently has an impending New York investigation that could lead to his indictment in the next few days. With this in mind, Stephanie has continuously alleged she engaged in an affair with the former president sometime in 2006. Her first tweet was in response to another online user questioning Stephanie's quote obsession with Donald, causing her to clap back, "I only respond when he posts or talks about me on TV, and only a fraction of that. He probably watches my movies on repeat, which may be why he has so many typos." In a continuation of her Twitter storm, the actress made another post about basically being Donald's go-to-jail Monopoly card. She responded to a second Twitter account with the ID America Floats on a post which included an illustrated photo of her and Trump and the words "Hi ho Stormy." Other tweeters were quick to drag Stephanie in these comments, asking, "This you?" In response, Stephanie replied, "It is, giving him a ride straight to jail. See how sweet I am?" Before we jump into number 9, like today's video if you're keeping an eye on Donald Trump's fate. In our 9th spot, Tiny Trump. Now, Stephanie's online spiel didn't quite end with the aforementioned information. Stephanie's Twitter takedown wrapped up with her dissing Donald even further. Included in another Twitter user's thread was, "Trump isn't getting arrested, sweetly." This prompted Stephanie to write back, "So he lied? Again?" Because that's what Tiny said on his own social media post. This reference was in relation to Donald's unconfirmed claim on Truth Social regarding his potential arrest in New York. On the other hand, Tiny seems to be Stephanie's newest nickname for the former president, undoubtedly referencing how small she believes he is. This comes off the heels of her 2018 tell-all memoir, where she went into descriptive details about the makeup of Donald's private parts. In our 8th spot, Daniel's shocking DA appearance. On Wednesday, March 15th, Stephanie met with Manhattan prosecutors, according to her lawyer, Clark Brewster. Though not clarified if this was in person or virtually, Clark stated that Stephanie responded to questions and agreed to make herself available as a witness or for further inquiry if needed. The New York District Attorney's Office began its investigation on Trump's organization back in 2019 after the testimony of Donald's former personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, revealed he facilitated a supposedly illegal $130,000 payment to Stephanie in 2016. In Stephanie's admission from the mid-2000s, she revealed she had an alleged affair with Donald, and Michael bought her silence while Donald partook in his first presidential campaign. Michael initially testified on Monday and returned that Wednesday to complete his testimony, being the final witness expected to stand before the panel as the DA's office closes in on indicting Donald. If successful, the results will cloud the 2024 presidential race. In response to Stephanie's DA meeting, Donald's current lawyer, Joe Tacopina, stated, "Everyone is looking for their 15 minutes of fame." He also took a dig at Michael, who's been very vocal about his public appearances in court. "When people appear before something as serious and confidential as a grand jury proceeding and run out of the courthouse to hold press conferences or tweet about it, it is a glimpse into their motives and credibility." More so, Donald chalked up the DA appearance as a scam to weaponize law enforcement in order to affect the presidential election. Despite originally insisting he had no knowledge of the money, he has since relayed through his attorney that he is following Michael's legal advice of paying Stephanie. In our 7th spot, Donald's dirty secret. Where it all began. The reason for Donald's sticky mess in the form of former adult actress Stormy Daniels herself, the hush agreement. Of course, we know Stephanie took Donald to court over the 2016 argument that she was bought into silence about their alleged intimacy. However, she claims their agreement remains invalid since Donald never signed his portion of the agreement. The LA-filed civil lawsuit claims Donald's signature is missing, an agreement in which both the then presidential candidate and the actress were identified under fake names. Despite Michael agreeing that he paid Stephanie thousands for the agreement, he also adamantly denied his intentions of keeping her quiet about the supposed affair. The entertainer's allegation allegations have been a persistent thorn in Donald's side, as Stephanie has made it crystal clear she intends to keep opening up about the rumored encounters. If convicted, Donald can face up to 4 years behind bars. In our sixth spot, 60 Minutes with CBS. In March 2018, Stephanie made her highly anticipated first televised appearance since news broke of her rumored ties to Donald. The dominating story got intensely graphic details added from Stephanie when she reiterated her signing a non-disclosure agreement because she felt threatened. During her appearance on CBS's 60 Minutes, Stephanie walked Anderson Cooper through her version of the events with Donald, which began with a 2006 golf tournament encounter. Quote, "From that moment on, he was like a completely different person. He was like, wow, you are so special, you remind me of my daughter. You're smart and beautiful, a woman to be reckoned with, and I like you." Stephanie alleged she was intimate with Donald afterward, despite not being physically attracted to him and not wanting him, but explaining how she felt trapped in his hotel room alone. Stephanie was notably 27 at the time, while Donald was 60. Still, the actress clarified she didn't consider herself a victim, and their act was consensual and sans protection. They reportedly remained in touch after, but never engaged in further intimacy. However, Donald vehemently denies ever having an affair with Stephanie, and despite not knowing if he saw the interview at the time, Donald is a frequent enjoyer of 60 Minutes. The former president was located in Washington when it first aired, but his former first lady stayed in Florida. While Donald avoided acknowledging the sit-down head-on, he issued a tweet the following Monday to criticize the media. The White House's principal deputy press secretary, Rod Shaw, then added how Donald had consistently denied Stephanie's claims while arguing the inconsistency of her story. Stephanie further discussed her attempt to publicly discuss these events beforehand, detailing a random 2011 encounter with a man who approached her in Las Vegas after she agreed to do a tabloid magazine interview for $15,000. Quote, "I was in a parking lot going to a fitness class with my infant daughter, you know, getting all the stuff out, and a guy walked up on me and said, 'Leave Trump alone, forget the story.' He then leaned around, looked at my daughter and said, 'That's a beautiful little girl. It'd be a shame if something happened to her mom.' And then he was gone." Stephanie's CBS dish garnered its biggest ratings since its November 2008 episode, featuring former President Barack Obama and his wife Michelle giving their first post-election interview. In our fifth spot, 2018 events. Now, I know we discussed March 2018, but let's break down this year a bit further, starting with January. This was the month the Wall Street Journal published details, weeks ahead of the 2016 polls, of how Donald allegedly spent $130,000 on Stephanie to stop her from going public about their 2006 encounter. The month after, the New York Times stated Michael's involvement in the monetary transaction, in which neither the Trump organization nor the Trump campaign was supposedly involved. Then March rolled around with Stephanie suing Donald over their non-disclosure agreement. April saw Donald speaking to reporters while adamantly denying any knowledge of payments made to Stephanie in exchange for her silence. Stephanie had also filed an additional but separate lawsuit against Donald that month following his tweet claiming her threat from a man over their alleged affair was a con job. In May, Donald issued a series of tweets with admission to a payment being given to Stephanie by Michael, but insisted no election campaign funds or contributions were involved. August was the month Michael pled guilty to tax evasion, campaign finance violations, and additional charges, stating he made payments to sway the 2016 election at the direction of a candidate for federal office. According to Michael, upon Donald's request, he issued $130,000 and $150,000 respectively to Stephanie and nude model Karen McDougal. At the end of the year, Michael was sentenced to 3 years in prison, reportedly behind bars in May 2019. In our fourth spot, Daniels was dismissed. In February 2019, during Michael's testimony to the US Congress, he stated Donald requested he misled the public regarding the hush money while asking him to relay that the president wasn't knowledgeable about the payments. That May, Judge James Arturo, who oversaw the defamation case from Stephanie, also dismissed her case against Donald regarding the non-disclosure. Then in July, a New York City court unsealed documents in regard to Michael's case, resultantly revealing how Donald took part in keeping the alleged affairs secret, including his time with Stephanie ahead of the 2016 election. In our third spot, Donald's major loss. 2022 marked a huge setback for Donald, as in July, the US Supreme Court rejected his arguments for presidential immunity while ruling that New York prosecutors were allowed to obtain his financial records. Cyrus Vance Jr., Manhattan District Attorney, and a committee of the House of Representatives had subpoenaed Donald's accounting firm, Mazars USA LLP, for a decade of his financial history. Trump attacked this decision, arguing that he was being treated unfairly while also being persecuted for political reasons. In our second spot, Stephanie missed out. March 2022 saw the fallout effects of Stephanie losing her appeal for her 2018 defamation suit. She was ordered to pay almost $300,000 $100,000 in legal fees for Donald's team of lawyers. In response to Stephanie's massive miss, Donald called the ruling total and complete victory and vindication. And finally, in our first spot, will Trump really be arrested? Finally, we hit March 2023, where the New York Times dropped a report on the 9th about how the grand jury had given Donald room to testify. This notably signified that the initial investigation into the hush funds may soon result in a criminal case. This month, Trump's lawyer Joseph confirmed that Manhattan's DA's office formally invited the once president to take the stand. On March 18th, Donald publicly claimed he would in fact be arrested in the days to follow. He called on his supporters via social media to go out and protest, a move that could end in mass hysteria depending on the final results. That's in today's WATN. I've been your host Michaela, and thanks for watching, friends.